I want to talk about a controversial word that you probably heard over and over again in relation to the war on terror. Islamophobia, defined by some as undue fear of Muslims. But is it racist to fear an entire religious group? Radio talk show host Dennis Prager says absolutely not, and he explained why in a provocative column that is making news today. And he joins me now from Los Angeles. Welcome back, Dennis.
Good to be with you.
Thank you. So let me read just a small part of what you wrote so our viewers know exactly what we're talking about here. One can rightly or wrongly fear Islam, or more usually aspects of Islam, and have absolutely no bias against all Muslims, let alone be a racist. How can you say it's not racist to fear an entire group of people?
Well, that's the point. The brilliance of the term, and that's the title of my piece, that it's a brilliant term, Islamophobia. Remember, it means fear of Islam, not fear of Muslims. See, there's anti-Semite, there's racist. That's fear of people or hatred of people. Islamophobia was a brilliant term because it meant that any criticism of Islam, not of Muslims, but any criticism of Islam is equal to racism. And I gave example after example where they're lumped together. But Islam has nothing to do with race. You might as well say that anybody who has fear of conservatism is a racist, or fear, conservatism phobia, or liberal phobia. Anyone who fears liberalism is a racist.
Would you be offended?
But nobody would say that. It's absurd.
Would you be offended if someone used the word Jewophobia?
Judaism phobia would be fear of Judaism, but if they don't use that term. There are people who may not like Judaism. There are people who could say anything they want about Judaism. That's my religion. It's criticized. Christopher Hitchens criticized it in his book. I don't think he has an anti-Semitic bone in his body. But that's the whole point. But if you criticize Islam, you're considered to be a racist. But if you criticize Judaism, nobody thinks you're a racist. That's the point of the brilliance of the term. That's why one of the many reasons you can no longer criticize only one group. For example, to use the theme that you were using before, if you have a Quran in the toilet, which is disgusting, absolutely and reprehensible, that's all of a sudden a hate crime. But if you have a crucifix in a man's pee, piss Christ, that's in galleries and museums, and a man makes money on it. This gives you an idea, because there's no Christianity phobia, but there is Islamophobia. And so the word and the intimidation have been very effective in intimidating any equal reaction to the religions.
If you believe this intimidation is for real, do you think it is succeeding in suppressing criticism of Islam?
It's almost a rhetorical question. Christopher Hitchens mentioned earlier about CNN and it's not. I'm not picking on CNN. It was true for Fox News or anybody else. Nobody showed the cartoons in the United States. I think the Philadelphia Inquirer might have been the one exception. That was one of the most newsworthy things. Yet no newspaper had a problem of showing the Virgin Mary surrounded by cow dung. It's a non-issue. Or for that matter, the crucifix and urine. Those are okay. Or Newsweek puts the Jewish Star with machine guns in it when it didn't like some Israeli policy. Nobody at Newsweek was afraid that Jews are going to blow up Newsweek, but people are afraid that they will be blown up by Muslims. Radical Muslims, Islamists, whatever term you wish to use, they're afraid they will be blown up by only one group of religious people on earth at this time.
I want to bring Christopher Hitchens and Ibrahim Hooper back into discussion. Mr. Hooper, let me put up one more line from Dennis's column today where he writes, the term Islamophobia has one purpose: to suppress any criticism, legitimate or not, of Islam. Do you buy that?
No. Mr. Prager sets up a false premise and then tries to defend it. First of all, that the use of the term is an attempt to suppress criticism. No one's saying you can't criticize any faith, discuss things openly, be critical of certain beliefs. But what we're talking about is hatred of Islam and Muslims. And we don't, again, the second part of his false premise is that we call it racist. Islam is an ideology. It's not a race. You can be a bigot. Maybe we should discuss whether Mr. Prager believes in anti-Muslim bigotry. But I mean, we get on a daily basis things like kill Mecca monkeys. Islamo-Nazi ragheads. A message on a website supporting Mr. Prager's column said Muslims are Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda are Muslim. Let's be done with it and kill them all. Is he now ready to repudiate Robert Spencer and Jihad Watch, one of his top supporters?
Dennis Prager, a quick answer to that, and I got to get Christopher into this conversation.
Jihad Watch is one of the most honorable websites that I know of, monitoring jihad in the world today. No, nobody says kill all Muslims.
Do you defend that kind of language,
Who says kill
Dennis?
all Muslims? What do you think? It's despicable. Of course not.
All
I
right.
mean, it's absurd.
Christopher, fear isn't exactly the same thing as hate. Christopher, isn't it possible to fear Islam or some aspects of it and be free of hate and not be a bigot?
Well, phobia, I think, as well as meaning fear, does imply dislike, and I dislike Islam as I dislike all religion. I'm just astounded there by the turn the discussion has taken. Every day, all the time, we have to hear propaganda pumped out of radio stations across the Muslim world, telling children to kill Jews, telling children to kill Hindus, telling children to kill Christians, telling them that their sisters and mothers and aunts are inferior, telling them that homosexuals should be stoned. We have to read and claim not to be offended about the stoning of 10 people in the Islamic Republic of Iran in the last week alone for crimes that they did not commit. There would not be crimes except under the mad religious laws that Islam proposes. Mr. Hooper has to get used to this idea. Some of us find that offensive too, but we don't demand that he be shut down or be prosecuted. We put up with his self-pity. We put up with his rantings and his distortions because we believe in the First Amendment. All we ask in return is that he upholds. All we demand in return is he upholds the First Amendment too.
We love the First Amendment. We uphold it every day. And the First Amendment also protects free expression of religion, and when you engage in acts of intimidation against a religious group, that goes against the First Amendment.
Dennis Prager, you get the last word tonight.
You haven't read, you have neither read nor understood
I'd like
the First
to ask,
Amendment,
Mr. Hooper said that he welcomes criticism of Islam. Can one say that women, as a rule, are treated better in the Western world than the Islamic world? Is one who says that, is that person an Islamophobe?
No,
yes or no?
we discuss that issue every day.
So one can say that. So one can say that and not be accused.
Again, you set up a false premise. We discuss that kind of issue all the time.
I asked that.
And by the way, the website that Mr. Prager is defending, the website that Mr. Prager is defending says that we should make the life of Muslims in the West so difficult they will leave.
Gentlemen, I've got to leave it there.
That I don't agree with. I do not agree with that sentiment.
Well, then tell Mr. Spencer that.
I wish we had more time to continue this, but we don't. Christopher Hitchens, Ibrahim Hooper, Dennis Prager, thank you all.
Thank you.
Still ahead tonight.